As Netflix dives into the tale of 4 apprehended drug smugglers in Cocaine Air, Smugglers at 30,000 feet, here is the truth about the remarkable case and what happened to those involved in the aftermath. Created by Oliver Bouchara and directed by Maxime Bonnet and Jérôme Pierrat, the French 3-episode limited series interviewed the vehicle's 2 pilots, lawmakers, and politicians to truly unpack the events of the case from all perspectives to unveil the truth. The full Netflix documentary series was released on the streaming service on June 11, 2025. While the arrests happened in 2013, the entire saga of the subjects of the documentary lasted for 8 years, during which 2 previously convicted suspects were acquitted in 2021 and had their names cleared of intentional wrongdoing. The case of Cocaine Air, Smugglers at 30,000 feet involves supposed wrongful arrests, a staggering amount of drugs, and a complicated extraction of the suspects from the Dominican Republic to France. As such, despite being a highly reported case, much of the documentary can seem like a high-stakes plot that could easily fit at home in a Hollywood blockbuster. Pilots Pascal Foret and Bruno Odos were arrested in March 2013 after 26 suitcases of cocaine were discovered on their plane. The pair had a highly prestigious career before their arrests. Having met during their service in the French military, involved in major roles such as nuclear weapon delivery, and with no prior criminal activity, pilots Pascal Foret and Bruno Odos' careers did not leave the impression that they could be criminals. Having moved into business aviation piloting as they neared retirement age, the pair were recruited by SNTHS to serve as pilots on a private Dassault Falcon 50 aircraft owned by French businessman Alain Affolou. During this career, Foret stated that few questions were raised about whom or what they'd be flying. Ultimately, this lack of discretion would lead to the pair being apprehended by authorities at the Punta Cana airport in the Dominican Republic on March 20, 2013, as 1,500 pounds of cocaine were discovered spread among 26 suitcases on board their vessel. With a cargo of illegal substances worth $20 million, it did not take long for the authorities to take those involved into custody. As such, Foret, Odos, and their 2 passengers, Alain Casteny and Nicolas Pisapia, were taken in to be placed on trial. Why investigators believed the pilots knew about the real cargo on board. The flight's crew avoided following expected procedures. Cocaine Air Smugglers at 30,000 foot Christine Sonia Pisapia. As investigators dived further into the case, several questioned whether the 2 pilots were more involved than they claimed not to be, according to examining magistrate Christine Sonia Ruellen. Alongside Foret and Odard, Casteny and Pisapia claimed to have been unaware of the cargo, refuting claims of ownership of the unusual suitcases. Furthermore, while she had seen her fair share of strange flights through her time in the private flying sector, Air Stewardess Elise Fatout had stated that she had been dismissed from servicing the flight just the day prior to takeoff, a rarity for a journey of its length. When Sonia Ruellen made the flight to interview both pilots across a 12-hour session, Foret states that he immediately suspected that she doubted their tales. Both pilots stated that they had no inclination to question or investigate the cargo themselves out of fear of legal repercussions, but Sonia Ruellen also questioned why neither grew suspicious of the weight of the bags or the smell they carried. When paired with Pisapia's alibi of having real estate business dealings in the Dominican Republic not holding up, and Castane's claim of being an additional pilot failing to live up to scrutiny, all claims of innocence were doubted. Lawyer Eric Lefrancois attempted to clear Foret and Odos' names, though casting suspicion on the intentions of the Dominican National Drug Council and whether they had set up the case to either raise their reputation as effective crime stoppers or clear reports on their own corruption. As their hopes of a fair trial diminished under the Dominican authorities during their trial, the 4 suspects were declared guilty and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Though the pilots assumed they were sentenced to life in prison, they were soon placed on parole and house arrest, required to attend monthly meetings. Foret and Odos escaped to France, trial and acquittal explained. The pair's escape involved aid from former allies, politicians, and ex-soldiers. Efforts were made by French citizens to campaign to bring them home, and caused much debate among French politicians and media voices. As they appealed their sentence, their story caught the attention of Christophe Nordin, aviation safety expert and acquaintance of Foret, who doubted their potential involvement, working with former MEP, Member of European Parliament, Aymeric Chauprade to use his familiarity with the nation to help. When diplomatic discussion failed, the 2 met the pilots during their parole in the Dominican Republic, where they shared their own ideas for an escape plan and as they felt their options were dwindling, Foret and Odos agreed to be extracted from the island. After plans for a helicopter extraction were quickly scrapped, the pair chose to aid the pair through an extraction by sea, recruiting former soldier and parliamentary assistant Pierre Malinowski to help organize the mission, while Chauprade and Nordin handled the cover story and alibis. The two pilots departed from the port of Bayhaib on a hired fishing boat under the cover of a tourist outing that would take them to international waters, where they would be transferred to Nordin's vessel after evading Dominican naval patrols, threatening their gradually suspicious boat driver to continue with the vessel, and seaweed bringing their speedboat to a close and forcing Nordin to enter Dominican international waters. The pair were transferred over to the sailboat. After making their way to French territories, the group boarded an undisclosed flight to France and arrived back in the nation. Though they had escaped the Dominican authorities and had caught media attention across the globe, the pilots still had to stand trial for not only their initial charges and their escape. Placed into preventive detention and faced with further questioning by Sawney Llewellyn, the pair were faced with further evidence that cast doubt on their innocence. The magistrate disclosed that Forit, Odos, and Pisapia had not only been witnessed on previous suspicious flights where unusual cargo had been witnessed, but had been together on 2 prior flights that underwent the same journey as the one they were arrested for. This prior activity had already initiated its own investigation by Saint-Tropez authorities, who were prepared to arrest the suspects before they were taken into Dominican custody. As the investigation continued, SNTHS co-owners Fabrice Alcaud and Pierre-Marc Dreyfus were drawn into the investigation, as their business dealings raised questions about their involvement. This also revealed that former President Nicolas Sarkozy could also have been involved in the potential drug trafficking operations. In 2019, as the French trial began, Forit's unawareness of the cargo was further called into question, as his search history and